Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Final Score. Today, we're going to be talking about the round one of the NFL playoffs. It's kicking off tomorrow. We're going to take a look at each matchup and give our predictions, what we think is going to happen, and talk about some of the keys for each one of these teams to win. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right, guys, so the first matchup is going to be tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. between the Raiders and the Bengals. Jay, why don't you start us off? Give us your take for this game.
I think it's definitely going to be one of the more exciting games. I don't think anyone expected the Raiders really to be here after, all of the injuries and the players that they had leave the team and John Gruden. So it's been a really rough season for them. They've had a lot to overcome, but I just think Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the Bengals are pretty much unstoppable right now, especially against a team like the Raiders. I think the Bengals are gonna beat out the Raiders in this one.
Do you think it's a close game? Do you think it's going to be a
I think the
blowout win
Raiders
for
are
the
going to give
Bengals?
up a fight. I don't see the Raiders as a type of team to get blown out, but I definitely think if in the fourth quarter, if it's like a 3-7 one-score game, I think Joe Burrow is going to put it away.
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders' secondary is strong enough to contend with Joe Burrow. I think it's amazing that the Raiders got in. I think they're a tough team, but the Bengals are going to beat them.
The Bengals are hot at just the right time.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say the Bengals kind of blow them out, to be honest. Just because these teams matched up earlier in Week 11, and the Bengals won 32-13, and that's before I think the Bengals hit the hot streak that they're on, and I think they're just gonna kind of run through them, to be honest.
I'm actually going to go against all you guys. I'm going to go with the Raiders. I
Wow.
actually think this is going to be the best game of round one, the closest game, and I could see it coming down to a field goal. A lot of times you see that with Raiders games; they always come down to the end. But I don't really have a great reasoning. It's just kind of a gut feeling. I think that Derek Carr is going to show up for a big game. Hunter Renfrow been balling out. Darren Waller's coming back, and their defense, their secondary struggles, but they do have a good pass rush at times that can gear up and make big plays. And I think that
But
Joe
Joe
Burrow's
Burrow's he's used to that at this point because his offensive line is terrible.
Yeah,
So
Joe Burrow has been sacked more than any other quarterback in the league. And I mean, the fact that they did as well as they did, despite that, just shows how great Joe Burrow's been. But I just got a gut feeling that the Raiders front seven, they're going to be geared up. They're going to get after Burrow, and I think they're going to do just enough to win the game. I think it's going to be a shootout, probably like a 34-31, 37-34 type of game. But I'm going to go with the Raiders in this one.
See, I think one of the biggest reasons I'm taking the Bengals is because I just don't think that the Raiders have the weapons to compare to the Bengals. The Bengals have Burrow, Jamar, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, whereas the Raiders really don't have much, at least on the receiving core. They have Josh Jacobs and Darren Waller, but other than that,
hey.
I know Hunter Renfrow, yeah.
Yeah,
Hunter Renfrow has been great this year.
Very underrated.
Hunter Renfrow is legitimately good.
Yeah, he's good, but he's not going to compare to Jamar Chase.
No, I mean he's not a playmaker by that aspect. But
I just think that the Bengals are going to come in fire, and I see the Bengals scoring 40+ points this week.
I don't know about 40, but they're going to score a lot.
I think it'll be a high-scoring game. I definitely don't think Anthony's off in that. Derek Carr's going to come up and he's going to play a great game because I don't think people realize just how good Derek Carr is, especially when you look at everything that they've had go on this year. Not just the players that left, but even the players they have. Darren Waller has been injured for most of the year, so they've had a lot to overcome. I can see the Raiders winning, and I do think it's going to be high-scoring, but ultimately I've got the Bengals getting out.
So we got three of us with the Bengals, one with the Raiders.
And so let's move on to the next game. Also, tomorrow night, you got the Pats and the Bills, the division rivals. They've played twice this year. Obviously, we know what happened the first time when Mac Jones threw 3 passes and the Pats still won. And then second time, Bills came and beat them. So round 3, Jaden, who do you got winning this one?
This is a really, really close game for me. I'm gonna take the Bills. I think no matter who wins this game, they're gonna be scary for the rest of the playoffs. They could both go on a playoff run. I have a hard time going up against the Bills in the first round. I think when you look at their first two matchups, I think that it's hard to look at the first one as a realistic matchup because those are conditions that they won't be playing in again.
Yeah.
And Mac Jones won't be able to just throw for 19 yards and still win the game. But I think it's going to be the most competitive game. I don't know how high scoring it's going to be, but I think this is going to be very competitive. But I'm going to give the slight edge to the Bills.
I'm going with Buffalo too. More for the reason that I think Patriots are a year away. I feel like they have obviously still one of the best defenses. They're a Belichick run team, so they're going to be competitive. They're not going to get blown out. But I still think Mac Jones is inexperienced. They have a lot of people on the injury report. Not that they're not going to play, but they're clearly going to be banged up. And I don't know. I just think Buffalo wins it this time. Without any crazy conditions, I think they can step up. I think they have something, I don't know how to put it. They went to the conference finals last year, and I think they're looking for the Super Bowl. So I don't see them getting knocked out the first round.
I think Buffalo's going to have the talent prevail over New England. New England's definitely had some unexpected surprises this year with guys like Matthew Judon having a great bounce back year after last year, and definitely some guys in their arsenal like Damian Harris. But if the Patriots win this game, it's going to just come down to Belichick outcoaching Sean McDermott because I think just pure talent, Bills are going to come out and they're going to beat the Patriots because of that talent. And if the Patriots can win in any way, it's going to be the same way they won last time. Belichick outcoaching McDermott.
I do think this will be the best game in the first round. The key for the Patriots is if Buffalo can't run the ball, the Patriots will win this game.
And Sean McDermott clearly got flustered last time because after in the postgame, he's like, let's not give Bill Belichick more credit than is deserved. So
if they're relying on just Josh Allen to run the ball and Singletary, Breida, or Moss don't do anything,
lethal backfield,
then New England will win this game.
And I think that was my thought process. let me try that one again. My thought process. I'm actually going to go with the Pats in this one, and I think it's going to come down to Belichick outcoaching Sean McDermott, and I am just not as big of a believer in Josh Allen. I mean, the Bills are incredibly talented, but I think Belichick's going to do enough to limit Josh Allen, and I think that Singletary and Moss, I don't think they're going to be effective enough. I think that the Patriots are going to control time of possession. Obviously, it won't be anything like the game where they ran it almost every single play, but I think that Belichick's going to get his guys geared up in a game that the Bills are the favorites. The Bills are a Super Bowl contender. I think Belichick's going to get his guys geared up, and they're going to do just enough to keep the Bills at bay.
I think Belichick is definitely going to do a great job, and I think he's just going to do a great job competing. But I think where it's going to be hard for me, at least, to see the Patriots winning is just Mac Jones inexperienced, and you look at the receiving core that the Patriots have. They didn't have they don't have a single wide receiver that had more than 800 yards this year, and their core is just not. I mean, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, and Nelson Aguilar is tough. It's tough going up against Josh Allen. In my opinion.
Overachieved because of their defense, coaching, and Mac Jones and Harris. I think this will still be. This will be true. This will be a very, very close game.
I think it'll be very close.
But I think Buffalo will squeeze by.
I think Buffalo's going to win this one.
I think Buffalo is going to win with their ability to make the big plays that I don't think the Patriots can.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's a good way to put it. This is going to be a very defensive game. I mean, the Bills have firepower on offense, but the Patriots are one of the best defenses in the NFL. The Bills have an incredible secondary, and their defense has been great at times. Both of these teams have had a lot of inconsistency, so it's kind of tough to predict who's going to do what. I mean, we've seen the Bills start off really strong early on, then they lose a game to the Jaguars, they get blown out by the Colts, they lose to the Patriots, but then we've also seen them play really good games. You know, they blew out the Saints. They were in a really tight one with Tampa Bay in overtime that they lost, but then they finish out with 4 straight wins. So, I mean, they've kind of been all over the map, and they also beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. So it's like both of these teams have been all over the map. It's tough to know what you're going to get on any given Saturday.
Yeah.
So
next matchup, we're 3-1 again.
Yep, 3-1 again. Once again, I'm the odd man out. Moving on to the next matchup, I'm guessing we're all going to have the same one here, the Eagles.
We're all going with Tampa, but I think the one thing to watch, though, would be that Philly's running game and Brady's lack of weapons.
Yeah,
I think Tampa should breeze by. Their defense is that dominant.
I bet you this
Brady will find a way on offense.
I think
this is kind of similar to last year when they played Washington. You know, you have a quarterback looking to prove himself like Heineke did last year. Obviously, that was different circumstances. I think it's going to be competitive. Hurts is better than he gets credit for.
I'm very anti-Jalen Hurts. I don't think he's good. I really don't. I think
he's better than he gets credit for. I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, I agree with that one.
He's better than he gets credit for.
I don't think he's a good quarterback. The only reason they're in this is because they run the ball so well.
The Eagles are a team that I think, if given the right matchup in the first round, they could have definitely been an upset candidate just because of their ability to run the ball and, you know, control time of possession and wear out opposing defensive lines. But the Buccaneers' run defense is just so dominant that it's just such a bad matchup for them because the Eagles live and die by the run. For them to have any shot in this game, Hurts would have to.
The resurrection of Jordan Howard, Boston Scott.
But you have to think Jalen Hurts is throwing to Jalen Reagor, who can catch anything.
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to say. That's why I think this matchup is kind of interesting because you're looking at the Bucs, who lead the league in pass yards, and then you're looking at the Eagles, who lead the league in rush yards. But I think the only way to beat the Bucs if you're not as good of a team as them is through the pass game, and that's because the Bucs do lack secondary. But I don't think that's like what the Eagles struggle in. So I think this matchup is perfect for the Bucs.
Yeah, I don't see Jalen. If the front seven stops the Eagles' rushing game, I don't see a way Jalen Hurts wills them to win.
I agree.
And I think I said, the one thing to watch would be Tom Brady because he's not going to have, obviously, Brown. Godwin's out still, I think. He's out for the year, like rest of it.
Godwin's done.
Yeah.
Cyril Grayson didn't practice, and Brashad Perriman was limited. So Gronk and Mike Evans are going to get used a lot. I still think Tom Brady wills them to a lead. Obviously, there's beyond this game, but I think Buccaneers will struggle a bit on offense. I still think they win this game, though, because of their defense.
Tampa's going to win this, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is a game that's close for 3 quarters, maybe 3.5 quarters, but it ends up being a 10 to 14 point game at the end, so it doesn't look quite as close as it was. I think the Eagles are playing close, but at the end of the day, I mean, there's just no way you can pick the Eagles against Tom Brady right now.
Yeah, and the Eagles defense has also been very, very heavily struggling recently after they put up. I mean, they let up 50 points to the Cowboys 2 weeks ago, maybe. So I think that Tom Brady's going to have I honestly think this game won't be that close.
Well, you have to remember about the Eagles' defense. They did hold the Giants' offense to 17 points in two games. They scored 17 points total. So I mean, they limited a juggernaut of an offense. So.
Yeah,
that's quite the defense.
Yeah. There. Oh yeah. But I mean, I go back. If you're going back to the Giants, I know you're being sarcastic, but Jalen Hurts threw 4 picks against the Giants, and the Giants have a good defense. Don't get me wrong, but the Buccaneers' defense is better.
But the Buccaneers do struggle in the secondaries position.
Yeah, they are one of the worst secondaries in the league.
Yeah, They have the best. They have probably the best front seven in the league, but you can definitely pass the ball on them.
But I don't think Jalen Hurts can even pass it when he's given the opportunity that well. I'm really
not with the pass catch
you
he's
seem
got.
to be pretty down on Jalen Hurts.
You can look at it in a million different ways, but it's going to come down to any way we look at it. Tampa's going to win this game.
Yeah, I agree.
So the next game, the 4:30 game on Sunday, is probably one of the more interesting games on the slate as well.
For this game.
The Niners and the Cowboys, and it's gonna be tight. There's a lot of different thought processes. If you ask 100 people, it's probably gonna be pretty split because a lot of people are down on the Cowboys, but a lot of people think the Cowboys have a shot to go all the way. So, Dill, why don't you start us off? What's your take on this game?
I think this game comes down to Jimmy Garoppolo, honestly. I think if Jimmy Garoppolo can have a good enough offense, because the thing is, San Fran's D is really good, but Dallas's offense is incredible, and their defense is good. They're a very complete team. However, the issue that's plagued them all year is inconsistency, and I still don't trust Mike McCarthy in the playoffs to make adjustments. If Jimmy Garoppolo can make some plays and get use Kittle and get a lot of scores, I think the Niners win this game in a close game. I could see it going either way. I completely see the 50-50, but I'm going to go with the hot upset and pick the Niners. Just because they're hot going in.
I'm going to agree there. I got the Niners in this one too. The Cowboys, I mean, their winning for the most part this year has been reliant on the run game. Early on in the year when they started off red hot, I forget the number. They were leading the NFL in rushing yards. They were close to 200 yards a game, running it with Zeke and Pollard. And then when they went through that stretch where they struggled, they really struggled to run the ball. Now they'll have Tyron Smith active for this game, which is obviously huge for them. But the Niners have a really good run defense led by guys like Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. So I think that, a Shanahan-led offense, I think Jimmy Garoppolo's going to, again, just make just enough plays. He's not going to win the game for the Niners, but I think he'll make just enough plays to overcome Dallas, who I think is going to have a really hard time running the ball. So for Dallas to win, I think
are hot.
Come down to Dak.
I think just the way San Fran was able to get into the playoffs last week with that game-sealing interception, and just the way Debo's been playing all year, making himself the most versatile player in the league, I think a lot is going right for them. And, just as the Cowboys are a very hot team right now, I do think San Fran is going to be able to edge this one out in probably the most competitive game of the week.
The thing that we're probably missing, though, is the fact that Dallas has scored over 50 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was...
That's no joke.
This game is real tough for me because you look at the Cowboys over the last 5 weeks are averaging 40 points a game. So that's a team that's like their offense is just red hot right now. Like Dylan said, they put up 50 in 2 different weeks, and then they also put up 30 numerous times this year. Their offense is just lights out. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo can keep up with that. I'm gonna give the edge.
They played great.
I'm gonna give the edge to the Niners, but I think it's really gonna come down to the Niners defense because I don't think if they do catch the Cowboys, if the Cowboys do have a good week and they score 25, 30, 35 points, I don't think that Garoppolo will be able to keep up with that.
I don't think it does come down to defense as much. I think it's Jimmy on offense. I think the Cowboys are going to score 20 regardless.
Yeah,
so if the Niners...
Well, the reason I say it's up to the defense is because the Niners haven't scored 30 or more in 6-7 weeks. They don't score 30 all that often. So I think
it's going to be a field goal game regardless.
Yeah.
Another thing to remember about the Niners, they're the type of team, like they've had some bad losses this year, but I think a lot of it's attributed to Shanahan and, the defense, but they do have playmakers on offense too. But I mean, they've had some really, really good wins. You look at the schedule, they beat the Rams twice. They beat the Bengals in that overtime game. They played the Packers as close as you can. Rodgers won it on a game-winning drive. He let them down and they got the field goal. But, you look up and down at their schedule, they've got some really good wins. They're the team that's going to put their Shanahan will get them to play their best. And I think what it's going to come down to is, for Dallas, it's going to come down to Dak. Can Dak be the elite quarterback that he's being paid to be and make all the big time throws, lead them on the game-winning drives? And can Jimmy on the other side do enough for San Fran? And
that's a good point about Dak, because the Cowboys have had a few bad beats when it comes to when they played teams that do score a lot. They played the Chiefs and the Cowboys only scored 9 points. So Dak does have his off weeks, definitely. And if the Niners can hold this Cowboys offense to a point where Jimmy can handle it, I think they will win, because I think that the Niners have a more consistent offense than
the Cowboys are so bad in the playoffs over the last decade. I don't know why. Every time. And Mike McCarthy only won a Super Bowl because of Aaron Rodgers. That's the only reason.
Honestly, a lot of the reason that I'm picking the Niners in this one is because I just don't trust Mike McCarthy and I trust Kyle Shanahan. It's the same reason one of the same reasons I picked the Pats, trusting in Bill Belichick. I think it's kind of similar here. Like, Shanahan, I think, is going to outcoach Mike McCarthy, and Dallas has so much talent that they still might be able to win in spite of that. But another thing that we haven't touched on yet is Dallas defense, which, they've kind of been all over the map this year. But with Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, they can make game-changing plays.
Yep. Here's the thing about Trayvon Diggs. I respect the amount of interceptions he has, but look at how many yards he lets up.
So
he's the definition of basically. He's like Gary Sanchez out there. You know what I mean? Like, he's the guys in baseball. It's home run or nothing.
But here's the issue with those stats, in my opinion. I know that he isn't a great coverage cornerback. Like, he's not a lockdown cornerback. But those stats are a little bit skewed because
he's not he's not Jalen Ramsey.
No,
he's not.
No, he's not. No, he's definitely not.
But he's a ball hawk.
Those stats are still skewed because he does play more of a safety role.
Yeah, he should.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think he's more of a free safety than he is a corner.
So, and again, I think he plays that, though. Like, I think they play him sometimes as more of a safety, so he is going to let up yards. Because
who's that other guy? Who's that other guy they have? Who's their other cornerback? Because he gets burned all the time. I don't remember his name. I see him get burned all the time.
The thing about a game like this, and Trayvon Diggs shows both sides of it, because we've seen him let up, the game-winning, not the game-winning, but the touchdown to Kendrick Bourne that sent that Patriots game into overtime. Trayvon Diggs,
Kendrick Bourne,
really exemplifies what the whole Cowboys defense is like, because they can make big game-changing plays, or they can give up big game-changing plays. And in the playoffs, one play like that, one interception from Diggs could turn the game around, or one 50-yard touchdown that they let up could turn the game around. So Dallas defense
Anthony
is
Brown
really going
to be who I was talking about, for the record.
Yeah. So Dallas defense is going to have a pretty big role in this game. Which version of their defense do we get? Do we get Micah Parsons going off and Trayvon Diggs making game-changing plays, or do we get the defense that gives up the big plays?
The thing for me, though, is it seems like if you really look at the Cowboys' schedule, it seems like they haven't. It seems like they have gotten their offense and defense to work at the same time, because you look at games like where they played the Chiefs. Their defense did their job, letting only 19 points up to the Chiefs, but then their offense scored 9 points.
Was that mid-November?
Yeah.
Weren't the Chiefs kind of on a cold streak at that point? Like, they've really come on late in December, but I feel like there was a lull for a while.
Even still, though,
the Chiefs were winning games with their defense at that point in time.
Yeah.
But even if you still look, and then the next week they played they played the Raiders and scored 35, but they still lost. It seems like
that's the same reason I think the Bengals will win, because Dallas was shredding them. I think Joe Burrow will shred the Raiders, but separate topic.
Also, looking at the Cowboys. Go ahead, Jay.
No, go ahead. I was going to go into the real game of the week with Big Ben. So
we don't even need to talk about this.
One more thing before we wrap up the Cowboys-Niners conversation. We talked about how the Niners have really good wins, and they come to play against some of the best teams. Looking at the Cowboys schedule, there's not too many wins that jump out that are really impressive. They had that overtime win against the Patriots.
I agree.
They beat the Chargers earlier in the season, but they lose to the Chiefs, they lose to Oakland, they lose to the Cardinals. Other than that, the best team they beat was the Saints back in week 13. So, they played the Buccaneers close in week 1, but can they step up in the biggest game?
I still think
I think they choke in the playoffs.
I still think the Niners are going to win this game, but I think you can make the same argument about the Niners. I mean, other than that Rams game, before that they beat the Texans, and their only other wins before that was the Texans, then the Falcons. They beat the Bengals, but and then you got the Jags, Vikings. Like, their schedule hasn't been all that tough either.
I'm actually surprised nobody went for the Cowboys, but
yeah, I was kind of surprised by that too.
I think we're all Giants,
but then again, we're all
so
Giants
we got a little bit of our bias in there.
Yep.
I don't know. I just feel like it's the same thing. Like, I'm trying to think of certain teams, but like, how there's certain teams in March Madness, every time I just pick against them because I'm like, they're probably going to get upset first round.
Yep.
It's the same with Dallas. No matter what, I always feel like they choke.
Yep. I'd agree with that one.
Anyway,
so Jay,
Pittsburgh.
You're the game that you've been waiting for, the Big Ben game, the Sunday night Steelers Chiefs. Jay, why don't you start us off?
Well, when you're quarterback, you're a starting quarterback on a playoff team, and he goes out in an interview and says that we don't stand a chance. We're just going to go out there and have some fun. I'm pretty worried, especially since I'm playing, the best team in the AFC, arguably, or the best team in the league, you could even say. I think Steelers fans are hoping for a miracle, and I definitely don't think it's one they're going to get. I think, maybe they'll make a couple exciting plays early on, but I think the Chiefs are going to win this one in a pretty spectacular fashion.
I think they're happy to be there.
Yeah,
honestly. Like, they're not a playoff team. I think it's Tomlin and just grit that got them to the playoffs. And there is zero way they win this game.
That's funny that the Big Ben thing. That's funny because, like, at first I thought he was kind of kidding, but then he kept going about how good the Chiefs were and how they just weren't that good of a football team. He said out of the 14 teams that made it, that they're probably number 14.
I know.
So he really lacks faith in this Steelers team.
What they have going for them right now is a story. It's Big Ben's last year, a miracle for them to even get to the playoffs. Then you got a rookie star running back with Najee. That's what they have as a story. So that's how they overcome this, I think.
Imagine how different this would be if, say, I guess the Raiders would have played. Would it have been the Raiders who played the Chiefs, or would it have been the Chargers who played the Chiefs?
It would have been the Raiders.
Either way, it would have been
regardless,
a better game.
Raiders would play the Chiefs because they always play the Chiefs well, and then the Chargers would have played Bengals, and that would have been an insane game.
Yeah.
So these stupid Steelers, that stupid field goal. It's because
that's what Big Ben said too. He said that they shouldn't be
there. He probably wanted to watch Chargers Bengals. That would have been a good game.
He really. I mean, I'm gonna have to go ahead just and agree with Big Ben. They don't got a chance.
I actually think now that I think about it, because the Raiders would have really played the Chiefs well. Like, not saying they would have won.
So would the Chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Chargers would
can't throw it 25 yards.
Big Ben can. Like, he still makes the right pass, if that makes sense, because he's such a veteran, but he does not have the body for it anymore.
He doesn't have the arm talent, the mobility. Yeah. He's about as mobile as a tree.
Big Ben. Think like Peyton Manning in his last year. He looks like 3 times worse.
He's cooked.
Yeah.
Big Ben hasn't thrown for over 300 yards since week 3.
And the thing is, Big Ben in his career was always a 300-yard type of guy. Like, he always threw for a lot of yardage. And now he's having to be like a Drew Brees accurate guy. Mm-hmm. And that's not.
And he's not even accurate.
And Najee Harris is good. I like Najee. But
I think that they're
basically their offensive line. I don't know. He kind of he gets 1.5 seconds or something before he gets
Ben is
contact.
holding that team. Ben in that offensive line is holding that team back so much because Deontay Johnson
Najee
is
could
so
be
good.
so good. He is so good, but he could be really something else if the O line was any better.
Yeah,
and
I don't see Kansas City losing. I don't.
No way.
Since we gave all the other teams possible win, the only way that the Steelers won is if they give Najee the ball pretty much all the time, and Deontay had a huge game. But
I don't think their line could hold up enough to do that.
No, they're not. I'd put this game out of all the games as the lock.
Yeah, this barely warrants a conversation.
I find it crazy. Same with Big Ben, like he says. I find it crazy they're in. To be honest.
Yeah, this is definitely the one that I would put as a lock. That being said, I don't think it's a blowout. I think the Steelers' defense and Mike Tomlin are good enough to make it at least a game. I don't think
I
the
see
Chiefs
a blowout.
blow them out.
I don't know.
I think the Chiefs win, but I don't really see a blowout.
Looking at all these games, though, I really think this is the only game that you could put as a lock. I think I could see almost.
Eagles.
Yeah, but I think I have a harder time seeing the Steelers win than I do the Eagles.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I think the Eagles have a better shot than the
I don't think the Steelers have any chance.
Tom Brady, I will say the one addendum to that is Tom Brady struggles against the NFC East. I don't know why, but he does.
Because they're the best division in football?
So, honestly, yeah, I think the Eagles have a better shot against Tampa than Pittsburgh does against
But
Kansas
we're all
City.
in a consensus. This is Chiefs, and it's not. Yeah. The game might be kind of close, but it's not close as to who wins.
Yeah, might as well move on.
I agree. I don't give them a shot to win. So the last game, the Monday night game, this is another one that's really interesting. Another divisional game, the Cardinals and the Rams. We saw them play twice this year. Cardinals won the first matchup, and then the Rams won the second. So this is another tiebreaker.
I think I'm going to be the only one going for the Cardinals. I could be wrong. Someone else might go. I think even though they have been struggling as of late, I don't know. I have a feeling that Kyler's going to pull this one out. Their defense has taken a hit since J.J. Watt has gotten injured, but it looks like he's going to be returning for this game. And I think that their defense is going to step up. And Stafford's very inconsistent this year. He has some games where he comes out and he looks amazing, and then he has some games where he throws for 3 interceptions. And I think that the Cardinals are going to cause a little bit of problems for Stafford and the Rams offense. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals.
Cardinals definitely. Go ahead, Dylan.
I'm going to go with the Rams, but the thing is, if you asked me at the beginning of the year, I almost would have been there's a 70% chance the Rams will make the Super Bowl. Because especially with their defense and their additions they got, they should be on paper the most complete team in the league. Right. They have the best wide receiver in the league right now. I mean, maybe he's not the best, most talented. I still think Devontae, you can make the argument, Tyreek, but this year Cooper Kupp was the best wide receiver.
Yeah.
No.
Then,
I agree.
Well, I guess that's another argument. But I mean, they have good running backs. Sony Michel's really stepped up. Their defense should be a lead, but I don't know why they can't seem to put it completely together. Yeah. They're winning because of talent, but for whatever reason, they should be a Super Bowl team.
I do think that is Stafford.
And they're not playing up to where they should be. Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down on Stafford. I'm picking the Rams to win. Don't get me wrong. I don't like Kingsbury if you look at him past week 8, he's never good. I don't think they're a playoff team. But I don't like the Rams as much as I thought I did at the beginning of the year. I really think on paper they should win the Super Bowl. But something about them. Yeah.
So when the Rams first got Stafford, I was kind of really high on the Rams as a Super Bowl team, and we've seen their inconsistency, and we've also seen that from the Cardinals. I'm also going to go with the Rams here, but I just want to make this point. I don't think there's any player in the league this week that has more pressure on them than Matthew Stafford. And it's because we've seen the Rams every year have a team that should be a Super Bowl quality team. The easy scapegoat is Jared Goff. Okay, so you get rid of Jared Goff, and then you bring in Stafford, who everyone says it's not Stafford's fault. He was losing. He was on the Lions. He's a great quarterback. Then he comes into just about the perfect situation, great offensive mind and talent all over the team. So what happens if Stafford gets knocked first round with the Rams by a division opponent? I don't think there's
it's a
I don't think
dumpster
there's
fire.
anyone with more pressure.
Look at the Colts last week, what happened, and I said it all year. I don't like Carson Wentz, but
Yeah, you did.
if you look at what happened with the Colts last week, they're a dumpster fire right now because they're like, okay, our roster, we can't win with it. If this happens to the Rams, given how many picks they've traded and how much they have at stake, they built to win the Super Bowl. That's what they built for. That's what they made all their moves
Chips
for.
are all in.
If they lose week one, they'll probably still have like the same team next year, but it's going to be is the window to me. Like it'll be catastrophic. Yeah.
When you break down your roster, you don't like even realize how good they are. Like just thinking about it, you have Stafford at the helm, and then in the backfield you have Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, and Sony Michel. You're throwing to Odell, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, and Van Jefferson, who's doing great. And then on the defense, you probably have two of the best defensive players in the league with Donald and Ramsey, Von Miller. Like it is ridiculous.
I think this
how
defensive
stacked
coordinator in Los Angeles is not doing as good of a job as he is. Like he's not doing. We're talking about Aaron Donald, and sure he's a veteran, but Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous to me that they don't hold opponents to like 17 or less every single game.
I think this game. I think the reason I'm going to take the Cardinals here is because Stafford, at least recently, he has fairly consistently thrown 1 to 2 interceptions a game, and I think that their losses are just against teams who took advantage of those interceptions. And I think the Cardinals are going to take advantage of those interceptions, and I think that's just going to kind of draw the line of the game, in my opinion.
I guess not focusing on the Rams as a whole, but if I'm focusing on this game solely, I don't love the Cardinals defense. And I think that just Stafford and Kupp, if Stafford can play well enough and only throw like, say he has like 2 touchdowns and a pick, and then they have like a touchdown on the ground or something, I think the Rams will win this game. I think their defense will probably limit Kyler. Connor's a touchdown machine, but he's not like, I don't know. He's solid, but I don't think he's like extraordinary. I think the Rams pull this one out just from this game.
I agree. I'm going to choose the Rams in a very close. It's the game I'm definitely most looking forward to, but I think Rams are going to get past it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I agree with the Rams. The one thing is also DeAndre Hopkins. His status for the game is in doubt, and if he's out, that puts Arizona at a big time disadvantage. I mean, they do have Christian Kirk. AJ Green's had a nice year, but
it's not enough.
Going up against Jalen Ramsey, you need an alpha receiver in a game like that, and I think that if DeAndre Hopkins is out of this game, I think Arizona's chance of winning drops big time. And in that event, I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams handled this game easily. Otherwise, it should be a close game. I will not be surprised at all if Arizona comes out on top. But I just got to go with the Rams.
Granted, much wasn't on the line, but I mean, they just lost to Seattle too, and Seattle's team that they should be beating regardless.
So, DeAndre Hopkins has been ruled out.
He's out.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, they're not winning.
Yeah, to me, that's the nail in the coffin.
I think even if they win, I thought he was out to like the Super Bowl. I thought it was a pretty serious injury.
Regardless, I'm still going to take the Cardinals.
I just don't think Kyler's there yet. I think he's like in the same boat as Dak, where it's like prove it in the playoffs. Yeah, until he proves it in the playoffs, I don't know. Same thing with Stafford, though. Stafford hasn't much enough.
I think that's what it comes down to. Is I'm just gonna bet on Kyler over Stafford. Yeah, I think that the Rams are probably the more safe more safe bet, but I'm gonna take the Cardinals in this one.
Every year you've got your teams that sneak in, win a few games. You've got your games that were expected to be blowouts that are really close. And then you've got normally a game or two throughout the playoffs that people expect to be really close that just isn't. And I'm not saying this is what I think is going to happen, but I think it's a very real possibility that with no DeAndre Hopkins, this could be a game that's surprisingly one-sided. I'm not saying that's my prediction, but it also wouldn't surprise me given how good the Rams defense can be and how I think Kyler's going to struggle without his top guy. But
yeah.
I'm going to predict it's still a close game, but I do think it's very possible that the Rams win this game by a large margin. Yeah. So we've all made our picks. I just want for everybody, look back at the games and the picks you've made. If there's one game that you had to pick for the other side, if you had to switch your pick on one game, what would it be?
Dallas. Jay, you start us off. For me.
Yeah. Who would you say start off?
Jay, you said Cowboys?
I'm in between Patriots, Bills, and Cowboys, Niners, but I think I'm just going to have to go Cowboys.
Dill?
Yeah, I'm going with the Cowboys too. I still think that they have the chance to score 40-plus points on any given night. And if you get that version of the Cowboys, they'll win.
The Cowboys is one for me, but it's the Bills for me because I did pick the Patriots, so the Bills is the one I would pick the other side for. What about you, Jaden?
I mean, the Patriots would be my second one for that, but
I mean, I think if I was going from a logical standpoint, I'd probably pick the Rams, but I'm gonna stand pretty firm with my Cardinals take, and I'm gonna probably say the Cowboys. It's in between the Patriots and the Cowboys for me. I can see both of those two winning those games.
I'm actually going to change mine to the Patriots just because I kind of like that one better. I could definitely see Belichick showing up and out coaching McDermott, so I'm going to change mine to the Pats.
I can't stand Sean McDermott. That's a topic for another day. But I just don't like
even as a Giants fan, I mean, I'm impressed with how good Dallas has been this year.
100%.
I'm betting against the fact that I don't think they're good in the playoffs. That's my main reason. I think 49ers are a team that's hot at the right time, and it seems like they can win the game.
And the Niners were in the Super Bowl not too long ago.
No, and they pretty much have they more or less have the same build of the team that they did.
Yeah, but they have Debo, who was much better than anyone else they had at the time.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell is about as good as Mostert was.
One overthrow away from winning that Super Bowl.
Yeah. That's what I mean. The 49ers can go on crazy runs.
The only thing about that Niners run that I don't think will happen again was Raheem Mostert when he ran
Elijah Mitchell. What did he run? Good.
Yeah, but I think it was 4 and 200, 4 touchdowns, 200 yards.
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's I mean.
Their secret weapon now to put up those crazy numbers would be Debo. Debo could be the guy where you're like, wow, that's an insane stat line.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you just never see it, Debo, because Debo can throw. Debo can get 150 receiving yards and 2 rushing touchdowns.
And a passing touchdown.
Yeah.
I think up and down the board, with the exception probably of the Steelers-Chiefs game, I think we're in for a really, really good round one. A lot of these games I could see going either way. And I think it's going to be a lot of close games. And also having 2 divisional matchups in the first round is going to make it extra fun. I think that's something that's kind of rare, but pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So next week we'll have to recap all the action from round 1. We'll preview the second round, but what time's the first game tomorrow? 4:30?
Yep. Yeah.
Raiders Bengals.
And Anthony, you were the only one who picked the Bengals, right?
I was the only.
No, we all picked the
Raiders, and the only one
that Raiders.
Picked the Pats.
I like the Raiders. I don't want to say I don't. I just don't think. I think it's a bad matchup for them. But.
So, Anthony Jay switched his decision to the Pats.
No. I was saying, Anthony said if you could flip one. Okay. So my pick is still the Bills. I was just saying.
Am I the only one who chose the Cardinals?
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, on that note, who's wrapping it up?
Thanks everyone for listening. We got an exciting round 1 ahead of us. This has been
the final score.
Yes, sir.